The Ahsoka show has given us a lot to ponder about, especially with all the new characters that have been introduced. Among those characters never seen before is the Inquisitor known as Marrok, a rather mysterious figure who has since separated himself from the Inquisitors who have come before. The differences between Marrok and the rest are quite apparent. Not only does he seem far more skilled and capable, he exemplifies a level of tactical intelligence that far surpasses that admittedly lackluster performance of the rest of the Inquisitorius. Only in the Grand Inquisitor have we seen such competency and cunning action. But yet, Marrok still shows himself to be different from the Grand Inquisitor, doing so by the virtue of the fact that we also have yet to hear him speak. Many are wondering who the mysterious Marrok is and where he came from. Among the most keen speculations that have surfaced is the theory that behind the mask of Marrok is our beloved lost Jedi, Ezra Bridger. This is a particularly fascinating theory, as if it is true, then that would answer many questions that we have about this mysterious Inquisitor. However, there are several things that don't quite add up. So join us today, Acolytes, as we open up yet another holocron and talk about this astounding theory, a theory that places Ezra as one of the primary antagonists of the Ahsoka series. To begin, we should talk about why Ezra being Marrok might make sense and all the evidence that has been given thus far to support it. The first major point is the actual name of Marrok and its relevance to our own world. In Arthurian legend, there is a man named Sir Marrok, a knight in our world's legends who served under King Arthur. The way his story goes is that he was an honorable knight who did his best to combat evil and drive away witches and robbers from the land. Unfortunately though, along the way, he made a major enemy of the witches, eventually being transformed into a wolf by a witch who happened to be of the council of Morgan Le Fay. I think you can all already see where we're going with this. Sir Marrok would do his best to continue doing good as a wolf until he could break the talisman that housed the spell. Obviously, this lines up with Ezra's connection to wolves in the form of the Loth Wolves, which were a huge plot point in his development in Season 4 of Rebels. We all know how Dave Filoni and the gang like to include small hints as to what we can expect from certain characters or situations. Perhaps this is a tip-off that Marrok is actually Ezra in disguise, or if we follow the outline of our world's legend of Sir Marrok, perhaps Ezra is under a spell or being mind-controlled. We have actually seen precedents of this before with Night Sister Magic, which is capable of making mild-mannered people become far more angry and feral in the dark side. We saw this in the Clone Wars as the Night Sisters transformed Savage Opress, resulting in a monster that he was never meant to be. There are also some who have cited the use of the Mind Flayer in The Mandalorian, stating that Thrawn used this machine to turn Ezra to the dark side, embracing pain and removing his past, using this to facilitate his return to the main galaxy. But if we are following the legend of our world, this would suggest that Morgan Elsbeth of the Night Sisters placed a spell on Ezra to turn him into a wolf and become this Inquisitor. Wolves in the Ahsoka show are actually representative of the villains. Interestingly enough, we can actually cite Baylan and Shin to be a part of this as well, as their names also stem from folklore from our own world. Baylan's skulls and Shin Hades' names come from Norse mythology about Skull and Hades, who were two wolves. Skull, which translates to one who mocks, pursued the sun. Hades, which means one who hates, pursued the moon, both in hopes of devouring the sky itself. If we use the template of these old stories and place them in the context of Star Wars, this is enough to give us an almost full picture of what we can expect from the series. Marrok is on a path of redemption, whereas Baylan and Shin are on the path of power and destruction. One of the biggest mysteries surrounding Marrok right now is why he is the last surviving Inquisitor. In our holocron released the other day, we spoke of how this fact is incredibly important to his character, as it has suggested a level of power or importance that exceeded the other Inquisitorius that came before. If Ezra is Marrok, then it would make sense as to why we have never heard of him before, or even seen him in company with other Inquisitors in their group appearances. Just from looking at his physicality as well, it can be noted that he appears to be a young man, hinting that he is not a part of the original Inquisitor group. Inquisitors, who by this point in the story would have formed almost 30 years ago. It should be noted though that some Inquisitors did come later, such as Reva, who hit her prime in the ranks of the Inquisitorius around the time of the Kenobi series, in the year approximately 10 BBY. Point being, there are new Inquisitors that were added to the ranks during this time period, and it wouldn't be outlandish to say that Marrok is one of the newer ones closer to the age of the Battle of Yavin. However, his sudden appearance after years of inactivity can be suspicious, and perhaps hints that he is indeed Ezra Bridger. Another factor is his skill. By the end of Star Wars Rebels, Ezra Bridger had vastly improved his skills with the Force and in lightsaber combat, even to the point where he was just about on Kanan's level of competency, being very naturally gifted. Obviously, there is absolutely no way that he comes anywhere close to holding a candle to Ahsoka Tano by this point in the series, but by now it's been 10 years since that point in time. Assuming he wasn't put in stasis by Thrawn, Ezra would have continued training during that time period, steadily improving to the point where he would be more than formidable in a 1v1 setting. Of course, he's still no match for Ahsoka Tano, but Marrok actually does exhibit the level of skill that we could assume Ezra would be at around this point in the timeline. Not to mention, Marrok seems more comfortable fighting with a single blade, which we know Ezra trained with. However, Marrok has had enough run-ins with the Inquisitors to know exactly how they fought, Ezra fighting several Inquisitors over the course of his life, meaning integrating their fighting style would be an easy task for him if he is indeed behind the mask. But with all of that said, and now that we've laid out all the building blocks to this theory, let's deconstruct the theory itself. To be completely honest up front, our researchers here at the archives are not convinced that this theory is true. The biggest and most glaring flaw about this question: how did Ezra make it back to the main galaxy, but Thrawn did not? It's highly unlikely that Ezra would have outsmarted Thrawn again, and it is completely ludicrous to suggest that Thrawn sent Ezra ahead of his own arrival. If he did do that, there would be no purpose to the whole star map plot that is currently being explored. Not to mention, it's being made very clear that jumping to this new galaxy is a very large problem. So much so that Morgan had to create a mega hyperspace ring being constructed in order to do this. This is the fact that blows the biggest hole in the Ezra Marrok theory. Although there is a slight chance that Ezra was able to get back using the world between worlds, unfortunately the thing that wrecks this notion is established lore released by Lucasfilm. On the official StarWars.com entry concerning Marrok, it states, quote, "Once an Inquisitor hunting Jedi for the Empire, the mysterious Marrok now works as a mercenary hired by Morgan Elsbeth to carry out dark deeds." The very fact that the website, an official one, confirms that he was in fact working for the Empire prior to this point debunks the notion that Marrok is Ezra. There is a chance that this is a databank entry and something of a red herring to throw fans off the trail. However, we still have to take it into consideration, and the huge comparisons between Ezra and Sir Marrok in Arthurian legend. But we should also mention, it is always a possibility that this Marrok could be another fallen Jedi that we do not know, or someone that we do know, with theories everywhere from Quinlan Vos to Cal Kestis and Barriss Offee. It's worth restating that in the Arthurian tale, the witch that cast the spell on him was named Irma and was not Morgan Le Fay herself. This may indicate that Marrok is a Star Wars noble Jedi warped and transformed by a different Night Sister back in the day, now working for Morgan simply because Morgan would have been the least familiar with Marrok, since it was one of her sisters that warped his mind and not her personally. It is because of these factors that it makes it very difficult to say whether Ezra is Marrok or not, but it is a very close likelihood that we believe he is not in fact this new Inquisitor. But now, we turn it over to you for the debate. You have all the facts, so tell us your opinion about this crazy theory. Do you believe that Marrok is truly Ezra Bridger, and Ezra was somehow sent back using a method that we are thus far not familiar with? Could it be the world between worlds, or something else? Do you believe that the StarWars.com entry is false? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you for visiting our archives, and as always, may the Force be with you.